Good day, everybody. I'm Shmee, and I just spent a full week getting completely lost in the entirety of the Warlock Mastery class. It took me a while, but I finally figured out one build that stands above the rest, and I'm gonna show it to you all today. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. Today, I'm back to teach you all how to create a Necrotic crit curse Warlock. If you want to play as an evil wizard, this is the build for you. You'll use Chthonic Fissure, Spirit Plague, and Chaos Bolts to apply your upfront necrotic damage. You're also applying several curses, and your Chaos Bolts will be triggering both Bone Curse and Rip Blood. Your Fissure Spirits will spread your Spirit Plague, easily ripping through packs, and your Chaos Bolts are a critical shotgun with a chance to deal double damage, shredding down even the toughest bosses quickly. Your damage is phenomenal, albeit it is a bit inconsistent. There are two big struggles that this build has, and Toughness is the first one. This is a pretty typical wizard-style build, and while the term glass cannon feels a bit harsh, it's definitely not a tanky build. You don't want to be in a position where you're sitting and taking damage, really ever, and you're going to be investing nearly all of your gear stat space into your health and defense. You can generate quite a bit of ward, but it will usually only keep you from dying to a single large hit. The damage is great, but the defense just isn't, and this build is definitely a heartstopper build that will keep you on your toes at all times. The other big struggle this build has is mana. This build is one of the biggest mana chuggers I have ever played. Whatever stat space you're not dedicating to Toughness is going to go to increasing your mana regeneration. If you choose to play this build, you may want to equip the Isidora set while you're at first getting your gear set up. The mana efficiency set bonus will make it much easier to maintain your casting, but eventually you'll be able to get much more out of uniques with legendary power. The key to keeping your mana under control is how you specialize Chaos Bolts, and in particular the Chthonic Aurora subspecialization. This specialization is your first priority as you level up the skill, but only if you have enough mana to sustain it. You should be able to very easily handle one added projectile with this build. With some gear you can easily handle 2 extra projectiles, but it takes quite a lot of gear to get to the point where you add your third. The fourth is only going to be possible in extreme endgame gear, and what I'm wearing, I can't handle and sustain that yet. You also get a choice to specialize Chthonic Fissure with Chaotic Rupture. This replaces your standard spirits on occasion with a Chaos Bolt cast, but also costs mana. This is an optional upgrade for the build, and it's completely dependent on both your cast speed and your mana regeneration, so it's up to you. What I'm showing here is what I would consider to be the bare minimum to be playing this build. These are the skill specializations that you absolutely need for the build to work. Also, while I'm showing you this, I'm going to take a second to point out now that you don't need to have Rip Blood or Bone Curse actually on your skill bar. They're being triggered, and so this lets you use Transplant as a mobility skill, and I'm currently also using Bone Golem as a throwaway for distracting a scary enemy, but to be completely honest, the Bone Golem's pretty useless, so I'll probably end up just putting Bone Curse back onto my skill bar. This here is what I'm personally running. I'm at level 94 right now. I'll be testing out a few changes once I can push even more mana regeneration, but this is mostly what I'm going to be keeping. The only changes that I will end up testing out are going to be adding the 4th projectile, testing out Chaotic Rupture, as I said earlier, and otherwise I'm just going to be finishing my passive tree by getting Accursed Seer, but again, that's when I get the mana regeneration to sustain that casting. Playing this build is like being the bad student who got kicked out of Mage College. All your wizard teachers told you that it wasn't safe to use that much mana, but instead of listening, you just went ahead and did it anyway. Now, they call you a Warlock. And for good reason. You crack open the ground and you unleash a hellish, chaotic fury of necrosis upon your enemies. With this build, you can become a nightmare who terrorizes evil itself. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care, everybody.